Hello, my name is Morris and thank you for joining me. So today is a very exciting day because it is day 1 of Axie Origins Season 1. And it's also the day I start this new series where I'm going to analyze the meta and show you one of the top teams in the meta. And to start off, I'm going to show off the very top team that is in day 1 at the moment, which is sushi1's team. So without further ado, let's jump into the meta-analysis and team highlight for day 1 of Season 1. So now it's pretty much halfway through day 1, meaning about 12 hours. And as you can see, this is the top and sushi1 racing to the top at this point. And well, no surprises, I must say. Everyone at the top, pretty much everyone, I would say, has Pendulum Scale, which is it's basically a staple even at the end of last season. So yeah, everyone was playing Beast as the tank. That's because Pendulum Scale is pretty easy to get, and yeah, so it's just a pretty OP. And yep, Aqua is pretty strong, I would say. Yeah, at this point Aqua is probably the best because they don't really need too much support from the runes and charms. Interestingly, yes, get a bird here. I don't really see that many birds, and the sustain build only comes at 11. Yep, let me just scroll down a bit so you can see the top is mostly the more OP kind of runes at this point, the stronger kind of runes. And yeah, you just have to scroll down to here to get to, okay, this is all basic runes, interestingly. So we're actually not sure. Yeah, so a very attacking team at the moment. I assume this is a poison build, so you don't really get that much poison build and sustain. So I assume there's 1 sustain and 1 poison at the top 25 or so. And if you scroll down, it's pretty much the same. Okay, so I will dive into sushi1's team and then do a bit of an analysis. So first of all is I'll explain what this charm does. So Pendulum Scale, what it does is that it allows the Axie to take 15% less damage. The flip side is that it cannot gain any shield, but usually it's not a flip side because this kind of team doesn't have any shield cards anyway. And the pairing with Aquas very strong as well, because Aquas really don't need that much support. You just need to hit them very hard. And wow, I'm looking at the charms, and this is why sushi1 is so good, because you can see that the sushi1 already has 2 bubble pace, which basically gains 1 bubble. Okay, so let's dive into their Axies as well, and see how that is. Okay. Yeah, so the win rate very high. Played over 50 games and win pretty much higher than 80% of the games. So wow, that's why sushi1 is at rank 1 at the moment. Actually, let's dive into the beast first. So for the beast, they have little piece. I think it's also I won't say a staple, but very strong because vulnerable for 4 turns. And then card draws as a hero. That's interesting. You don't see it that much, but that's why it is quite rare, I would say, on the marketplace. And then removing secrets is interesting. Not sure why sushi1 opt for this card to remove secrets. Golda, I think, is very strong, I would say. Shuffling a void into your opponent's deck. The void is a curse card, which basically when the opponents draw into the void, so this curse card will get shuffled into the opponent's discard pile, and when they draw it, they lose 1 energy. So very strong because it does 2 things. First is that it disrupts the opponent's draw, so it draws into a curse card, a junk card that you can't use, and the other thing is that it actually causes the opponent to lose 1 energy, so very strong. And then another card draw, so a lot of card draw. So this kind of team just relies on card draw because they do have quite a lot of free energies, as you can see later. Okay, and then let's see the Aqua. So the interesting part about actually something to note about this Axie is that it opts to go for the hair, which is a card draw, as opposed to Cottontail, which is the free energy card or gain extra energy. And I think the reason is that there could be turns where you draw into multiple 0 cost gain 1 energy card like Nemo or Cottontail, and that could feel pretty bad. And so you have to get a balance. And I think 2 is probably the perfect balance. And I think 2 or 3. Which means that a lot of teams, especially aggro teams, a lot of aggro teams do have this kind of 0 energy gain 1, 0 energy cost and gain 1 energy kind of card. Okay, so let's see what they have here. Mavis is actually very interesting on an Aqua. I'm not, especially for teams that are not prepared to deal with Mavis. Mavis is very strong, and in early meta, not too many people have AoE to deal with Mavis. When I say AoE, I mean in the form of bubbles, in the form of energy guru, and so on, because those are runes and charms that you can get only a bit later on. So that's why I think Mavis is pretty strong at this point. And yep, they do have the bubble gum, and with bubbles, so they can get to the bubble pretty easily as well. And Risker Fish, I think, is a must as well, because it deals so much damage. Effectively 70 plus 20, which is 90. And also, of course, there will be some runes and charms that buffs this as well. So usually it deals like 100 damage for 1 energy. And this card as well, the Show Star, very good as well, because it just lets you deal 90 damage effectively, just to finish off opponent. And yeah, and more card draw. So I would say that's a perfect Axie in a way. I would say maybe except for Mavis, which is an interesting choice. And let me see the last one. The last one, again, more bubble, so a very, very strong team. I think sushi1 has been playing bubble since last season as well. Yep, Risky Fish again is a must. Nemo is also a must. Getting a weak is interesting. Okay, card draw as well. A lot of card draw. Pretty crazy, I would say. So they can basically keep drawing cards. Even if they don't get to the... actually, even if they get 2 of the Nemo, and yeah, basically getting 2 Nemos in the same turn, they can still draw into the attack cards and make use of the Nemos. So very, very strong. And I think this one, Days, I would say, I'm not sure why it fits in here, but I think it's just, well, a decent attack card, and well, pretty decent sets of Axie. And what Days does is that it shuffled a Days card, which is a curse card, and then you actually can't do anything with it. So again, it's just worsen the opponent's draw. Yeah, and weak, it was actually pretty good, because this goes pretty well if you are racing against other aggro team, and if you manage to put a weak to the opponent's Axie, where weak is a debuff that basically sets the opponent's Axie to deal 20% less damage. So very strong, very strong. Let me just go back here and see. So yeah, they do have a lot of the well, basically pretty much full charms, using all the potential points for the charms as well. And yeah, I think this is a pretty much I also got end game Axie setup, but close to end game, other than the epic runes. I think this piece is pretty much close to end game, I feel. So yeah, very strong already. So that is why sushi1 is on top. Okay, so this is the my analysis of how the meta is going for day 1. Let's try and get into one of these battles. And okay, let me just pause the video here, and you can see this is the sushi1's team, which we've already analyzed. And you can see, yep, the runes and charms and where they are. And then you can see the opponent's team is also pretty strong, I would say. 2 free energy here already, and then a very attacking plants as well. And yep, just full on attack, and let's see how it goes. So okay, sushi1 I think is going first, and let's see how it goes. Alright, very strong start with the well, over 100 damage. And the opponent also very strong start, you can see, right? Or making all the initials worth it, and another using the free energy already and getting the Liberal Branch, getting already 3 rage stacks up. Let's see the next turn. Okay, bubble is coming. Yep, okay, so far pretty standard at this point. Yeah, but of course these days getting bubbles is not easy. Okay, getting a lot of damage, and I feel like sushi1 is actually not in the greatest of spot at this point, because yeah, the beast is getting quite low. Let's see how they can turn it around. So okay, another over 100 attack for 1 damage, and then yep, stacking up all the bubbles, and another bubble. Yep, so this is where sushi1 is very strong, right? So you can see getting the bubbles and already dealing 60 across the board with the bubble, and then next turn we'll do another 60 across the board. So I think the bubble is just a bit too strong at this point. So opponents trying to come back, and I think they do have the tool. They did set the death mark at the back over here, and trying their best really, but the beast definitely does its job for sushi1, taking a lot of damage, and now the bubble is going to take out the mid as well because of the 20 damage. It's really pretty crazy. Do get the void, but still manage to use up all the energy, and probably play the Mavis. Interestingly, not in the front, but in the middle, to even get even more extra energy. And at this point, the opponent is very behind. Let's see if they can turn it around, but looks like okay, they do manage to equal the Axie count. But then having the Mavis actually very good placement, because after next turn it will still have 2 HP left, and that will basically be used as a shield to the opponent has to hit into it. But I feel like they don't, well, actually I was gonna say they don't need it. I think that is a KO, so that is GG's. Very strong with the bubbles. So that's a typical way in which this kind of team can go. And okay, so actually I want to look into this team, this game where an opponent managed to beat sushi1, and let's see how they managed to do it. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to pause and look at the opponent's Axie. So very strong front, again pendulum scale, so that is basically the meta. And then they do have the little piece as well, and Axie key is very strong because it deals with any and target any enemy and death mark. And okay, one thing to note is that there's 1 cottontail here that I always count how many free energy cards they have, and then there's a pretty standard Aqua with Risk of Fish and Score Star, and then Nemo. So those are, I would say, must cards. And then I won't say must, but like very meta cards. And then Grandma's Fan, actually very strong. And Hungry Bird I feel like can be quite strong as well, because it deals pretty much 80 damage. Yeah, and the combination of these two deals very good against sustain builds. So let's see how this goes. Let's just look at this particular game where sushi1 is going first again. Again, always starts with Risk of Fishes, which is dealing, even with Pendulum Scale, doing over 100 damage. But opponents doing the same thing, very strong. Okay, doing the bleed, that is I would say pretty equal at the moment in terms of the matchup. Yeah, the bleed definitely hurts a bit for sushi1, but getting the weak could be important, but the opponents can definitely play around it. Okay, well, very strong that they can put the death mark on, and eggshell very important as well to keep the beast alive, and then they can make use of the free energy. So unfortunately for sushi1, actually didn't get any of the Nemo and free energy cards, but did manage to get to 3 stacks of bubble. So let's see. So I feel like sushi1 is in a very good spot at this point because the Axie is pretty healthy still. Okay, but the front might go down, as you can see here, because of the opponent having a cotton tail. The front piece of sushi1 actually goes down. Despite the weak, so that is a pretty good deal, and I think this Death Mark actually is doing a lot of damage, which is very strong. And yeah, very unfortunate for sushi1. I think the draw has been pretty bad. Drawing 2 Nemo at the same turn means they can't actually use any of the free energy, so very unfortunate. Of course, like takes some bad luck like this to be able to, I think, be defeated, I feel. Because sushi1 did manage to get to the bubble, but the opponent managed to actually use up all their free energy card and very efficiently deal with the Axie. So 1 Axie left for sushi1, and I feel like the opponent is in a pretty good spot. And unfortunately, the draw for sushi1 is not the best as well, and there's really just not much sushi1 can do at this point. Well, you can only hope that, sushi1 can only hope that the opponent can't kill them next turn, but they still have the vulnerable, so I think that is GG for sushi1. So, yep, it's a pretty close game still, but if sushi1 didn't draw the 2 Nemos at the same turn and like the draw order would be a bit different, then things of course could be quite different, but you do, sometimes run into this kind of bad draws. But you do have to get into this kind of very bad draw in order to lose a game, I feel, because look at this, right? sushi1 has just been winning so many games in a row. This is just crazy. I'm just scrolling through. The win rate is just insane. Very consistent team. Reason I say it's consistent is because consistency is actually very important in this game. If you look back at the Axies, you can see they have a lot of card draw, right? So if they run out of attack cards, they can draw a card. And then here as well, they have another card draw here. And then here, there are actually 2 card draws, right? One here and one here. So it makes this very consistent, even if they run out of, when I say run out of attack cards, meaning let's say they have a bad draw because of the curse cards that opponents shuffled in, they can still get out of those sticky situations. So yeah, very strong team. So that is why sushi1 is at the top spot at the moment. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed my video, do consider giving me a like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, and use my Lenosian code Morris. Thanks again and have a good one.